I'd like to kick it off. Dom and I put together some thoughts about Edie and what she means to ACV. So we'll start off with that and then open it up to individuals who would like to share their experiences and love for her.
This is Dom Calvano, Alzheimer's Coachella Valley, president of the board of directors and also a co-founder. And to my right,
Good morning again. My name is Pat Kaplan. I'm a co-founder with Dom and Edie Keller of Alzheimer's Coachella Valley and also a current board member.
so we'd like to talk a little bit about our dear friend Edie Keller. Tell them the story of what she used to say uh, at Club Journey.
Oh, that I remember one day coming in and Edie was already here. And you know what if any of you've been to Club Journey when it was in the office, the electricity and energy was so exciting. And there was Edie, and she had this most beautiful smile on her face. And she said, you know, I used to wonder why I was put on this earth, but now I don't have to ask that question any longer. And that was it. I mean, that's Edie. It brought her so much joy, and at that point in her life, it was like, I am going to have a legacy. I'm making the world different and better. And I think all of us would like to have that happen. And I know, and I'm happy for her that did happen before we lost her.
Yeah. Problems to her, you know, but she took the time with every single person that came up to her. Always, you know, always took the time for people. And, you know, that's a rare quality in today's world. Everybody is pretty much on the go, and, you know, to find somebody that really has a genuine uh, love for people like she did was truly amazing.
Well, and I remember when I first met Edie in 1994, and she was struggling with accepting that her mother had Alzheimer's. And she really ran up against a wall when it came to finding resources because she lived in the valley and her parents were living here in Coachella Valley. So her struggle, she really experienced that. And as she said, misplaced her mother many times because she didn't know what she was looking for, and there weren't a lot of options out there. So that always stayed with her, and she never forgot that. And she always would say, no one else is ever going to have to go through what I went through. That terrible feeling of knowing that there was a need and not knowing how to fill it. And so I think that's why she was always so open when our families would come in or if somebody had a question or a challenge. That was her opportunity to allow them not to have to go through what she did.
Right.
And when she said that, she meant it. And from then on, that's the way she lived her life. I mean, she and Chuck were very special in that everyone always had a voice.
You know, we talk a lot about Club Journey, and there might be some people out there that are watching that really don't understand what Club Journey is and traveling the journey and how they came to be. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how, you know, about traveling the journey first, and then how it kind of morphed into what, you know, it is today, plus the, you know, little jog it took to turn into Club Journey too.
Well, I think as any of you that have worked with us the past going on 4 years know, our emphasis was to work with not just the caregiver, but the person with diagnoses, and to develop programs where they could actually do those together. and share the experience. And so that's what Traveling the Journey was about. Meeting for 8 weeks with the caregiver and the person with diagnoses, presenting educational opportunities, resources in the community the first hour, and then after some coffee and snacks, then the people with diagnosis going with Trudy, doing some kind of fun activity or just sharing some thoughts that they may have since last week, and Edie going with the caregivers. So everything was going wonderfully, and then the 8 weeks came to an end. And those 8 couples looked at her and said, "No, you can't do this to us. We're like a family now. We have all these connections, and this can't be over. It's got to be more." And so Edie called Dom and I and said, "Okay, guys, we got to meet. We have another challenge." And so we were sitting in a little circle like this, and saying, well, what would it look like? What it would be like? Would it just be social? Would it be educational? And Edie said, no, it's just going to be social. They've already, been exposed to resources. This is just time for them to come together, get to know each other more. So it needs to be social. And, but what would we call it? And so we were throwing things around, and then all of a sudden it was...
Well, it came out Journey Club, remember?
Yes.
It could be like a Journey Club. And then we thought about it for a minute and said, why not call it Club Journey?
And it was so spontaneous because I think it happened around the beginning of June. And so we said, well, when are we going to start it? And we said, well, we're just going to start it.
Yeah. And
just kind of see what happens.
I remember saying it's the program that's really not a program.
Right.
Because and what was interesting about Club Journey and Edie, initiating it, is the fact that it was completely 100% created by the participants. And that's what I think made it so special. There's participants right now that come in and they feel like they are the ones that actually created Club Journey, and it's really cool.
Well, and look what happened with Larry.
Yeah.
And after doing exercises with Chrissy, then Larry wanted to read a poem, or somebody wanted to tell a joke.
Right.
And so they created that little segment. And then it went into what kinds of games, what kinds of things, and then the lunch, and...
But Edie, I think, really had a feel for what they needed, and she knew that this form of socialization and getting people out in a safe environment would really work wonders for them. And it did. It was something. I can't wait to start it up again because I know how much people really miss it.
And the wonderful thing was it did not become just Tuesday from 10 to 12:30. It became relationships that developed. And so on Friday, they would go to a movie together. Some of them went to Sunnylands and did the tour. And they really got to know each other as friends and really cared about one another.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful, seeing that happen.
We have Edie to thank for that, for being the initiator, making that phone call and telling us, hey, we got to get together and do something for these people. So, yeah. Thank you, Edie.
And I still, when challenges come up or I have a question, I still do that. I just put it out there to her and say, I know you're listening. I know she and Chuck are watching over us and sending us, good energy and ideas. And so it's, a couple days later, all of a sudden I'll think of something and it's the answer to what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
So I think what Dom and I would like to do now is, we have a couple of people that have already told us that they would like to say a few words about their friend Edie. And then I think Priscilla has some people that she might be calling on
Okay,
too.
good.
So we want to expand this to as many people as we can to share their great memories and friendship with our friend Edie.
We can't tell you how much we miss Edie every single day.
That was great.
All right, so I did mute everybody. So Pat, would you like to unmute and introduce our first guest?
Well, I know that Tony wants to say a few words, Tony, so why don't you start off? You're muted, Tony.
Let me see if I can unmute him.
There
Better?
you go. Yeah.
I can be verbose, so I wrote a few notes, so I'm going to read it. I'd like to recognize Edie and her desire to find help with her mom over 20 years ago. It's a tribute to the type of person Edie was. She found Pat Kaplan, who was operating the only facility at that time where Edie could find the help for her mom. Of course, we now know Edie had the passion to work with Pat to end up starting the first national Alzheimer's chapter in Coachella Valley. This dynamic relationship of Edie and Pat has transformed countless lives of families and their loved ones in our valley. Over 2.5 years ago, I was introduced to Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. I started in a caregiver support group facilitated by our late dear friend, Chuck Olson. Soon after, my wife Kathy and I attended one of the earliest Traveling the Journey Together series, and then also the early club journey. I have seen ACV more than double its physical facility size, but increased its many services and programs exponentially. This has occurred as a result of Edie and Pat and all the board members, staff, and countless volunteers' dedication and unselfish use of their time. I'm most grateful to Edie and for all the help I've received at ACV for me and my family, and I have referred several others to check out the many services and programs, and they all thank me for putting them in touch with ACV. Everyone is just great. Edie's legacy will carry on long after all of us because of the special purpose she served in her lifetime. She is missed by all who ever met her, and my wish for the future is for all of us to provide the support to ACV to continue this wonderful nonprofit organization in her memory. Thank you, Edie.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
I received a letter from most of you, I think, knew Ann Gimbel when she was the regional director of the national office in Rancho Mirage. And Ann is in Northern California now and a licensed marriage family therapist. So she's seeing clients this morning and couldn't be with us in person, but she sent some words that she would like me to share with you. In memory of Edie, 3 words come to mind: loyal to the community. I had the privilege of meeting Edie and Pat in early 2012 as the founders of the Alzheimer's office. As the new regional director, I called both women for history and guidance of the office. Edie was always available with advice and counsel. And as we went from 2 existing support groups to 12 by 2017, I asked Edie to support our leaders with suggestions. She even substituted as leader for the Wednesday group in the office to give them knowledge of the principles of participating in a support group. Even though we have the same licensure as licensed marriage family therapists, I learned so much from her. As ACV formed in 2017, Edie again was loyal to the community of Alzheimer's families and became a board member and leader of this organization. I last saw Edie at the April 2019 fundraiser for ACV and enjoyed our conversation about our respective patients, communities, and the importance of Alzheimer's Coachella Valley to local families. She is so missed, in particular by Pat and Dom. But today we are reminded of her inspiration to be loyal to this community we serve. Lots of love and best to all, Ann Gimbel. I know we have other people that want to speak, Priscilla, and I don't know if we have an order for them, or if you just want to raise your hand, Priscilla will unmute you.
And I think you can unmute yourself. Pam, would you like to go ahead?
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
I just want to say, looking at all the photos that were just shown, I'm privileged to be the person that took most of those pictures over the years. I met Pat and Edie back in 1999 when I covered their first gala with Maureen Reagan and David Hyde Pierce. And I didn't realize at that point that I would be using that resource for my own family when my mother had Alzheimer's. And I've been very proud and pleased to have worked with Pat and Edie for almost 20 years. And, you know, as the accolades for Edie abound, I can only chime in and say what a wonderful woman she was and how much I learned from her and how much I still learn from Pat. And grateful to be involved in this organization. And I just wish it more and more blessings. So please support us. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Trudy, did you want to share?
Sure. Yes, I took some notes too, and I'll just tell you, I miss Edie very, very much, and I miss her wonderful laugh, and she just sparkled with just her pleasure at being at ACV. She and I go back many years. I'd have to look. We were all four of us, she and Bob and Dennis and I, were members at Temple Isaiah back in the early 2000s. And then we both went from being members to, I wound up being executive director there through all kinds of channels, and she became president of the temple. So we worked very closely even then back in the early 2000s, and we kept in touch. I left there, she continued, and we got to, whoops, it says my battery is running low. How could that be?
We can still hear you.
Okay, well, I'll try to make it faster. But anyway, I miss her no-nonsense sensibility. We worked together for so many years off and on in different places. After Temple Isaiah, we came together at ACV because we were both, excuse me, not ACV, I'm not there yet. I'm at Act One because I was trying to put a business together called Together We Smile, which is more or less was one-on-one as to what I'm doing for together with you. And because now I'm with the group, and I couldn't get it off the ground. And I think she was having a little problems getting exactly what she wanted at that time off the ground. And then lo and behold, we came together at ACV. And
Oh, okay. She
Whoop.
froze. We might have lost her a little bit. We'll see if we can get her back. In the meantime, Helen, did you want to share any words this morning?
Yeah, I would like to very much. Shirley and I were both in the same journey together, taking the journey together with Edie. And my husband had just been diagnosed several months before. I was so fortunate to find it. But I honestly think I was sort of in shock. I know I was in a lot of denial. And Edie was just, I can't say enough about how, as my first exposure to the entire issues of Alzheimer's and everything, she was just a guide and a mentor. She was wonderful. And I know Shirley and I have both had the experience, and we mention it to each other once in a while, whenever we have any kind of an issue of, I say to myself, what would Edie tell me? What would she say? And so she's still there with me, and I'm sure she is with you too. She's a wonderful person.
Thank you. Oh, that was really lovely. Let's see. So those are the folks, our friends, have indicated that they would like to say something. Is there somebody else in the group you'd like to unmute yourself and add a few words? Deirdre, I know you've got some story. Oh, go Phil. Absolutely, go ahead. Are you comfortable unmuting yourself, Phil? Okay.
I'm unmuted, I think.
You are.
My name is Phil Wolf, and my wife Patty and I actually did Traveling the Journey twice. We did a remedial session, I guess, with Edie and Trudy, and it was such a valuable experience to both of us. And I think we were with Helen and Shirley in one session, but Edie was such a great help to me, as were the other caregivers. Just hearing their experiences, what they were going through, how they were solving the various problems that came up was invaluable. And my goodness, Patty just loved Trudy. And she would have spent hours and hours and hours with Trudy. So it was really wonderful, as has been, all of our experiences there at the Alzheimer's Coachella Valley. Going back to when Patty was first diagnosed, it was one of the first calls I made. And I I called in and I happened to get hooked up with Dom. I doubt he remembers this, but he talked to me for about an hour. And I'm so thankful. It got me off on the right start as far as exploring what I needed to explore. So thank you so much. And thank you to Edie. And, you know, I miss her.
Thank you, Phil, for sharing that. Roxanne, can you unmute yourself?
That I can do. So I realize that some of you don't know Edie before this gorgeous gathering of difference makers, all of who I heard about. I met Edie in 1990 when we both started graduate school to become therapists. And little did I know I met my person who would, as she did in so many lives, change the trajectory of my world. When we started at graduate school, they had us all get together and figure out who lived near each other to be in study groups. And boy, was I lucky that our addresses were near each other. So we met with a group of others. Everybody was supposed to read a chapter of a group and share. There's no way you could read everything on the syllabus. So this is how the school set it up. And it was clear to Edie that the other people weren't ready. I think God was, but you know, you're not ready in front of Edie. So the other people were sort of screwing up, and Edie looked at me across the table. I'd never met her in my life except to organize to all meet there. And she pointed at me and she said, "You get up, we're out of here." And it's, you know, I just followed her direction. We went out front and she looked at me, she goes, "We're starting a new study group." I said, "Wait, what's her name again?" So that was the start of that with her. You know, she rose to the top of everything. To cut to the chase about that, she was the school's valedictorian. And oh, I could just go on and on with graduate school stories. You know, she was helping me type papers. I hadn't typed since I was about 13. And I told her she missed a letter. I was standing over her and she looked at me. She said, "Is that right? Place your butt here, type your own damn papers. It'll come back to you." And she was right, it did. So she was my kick me in the butt person. Cut to many years later, her husband, Bob, and my husband at the time didn't want to go traveling. So she and I went off to Africa together, deep into the bush. And I thought, this woman is dragging me into experiences I never would have thought I would have had. So because we traveled during the hot months, you'd have to get up at like 3-4 in the morning to go on safari. So you'd be in the Jeep way out in the middle of nowhere as the sun was coming up. And after doing this day after day after day and not being a morning person, let alone on, you know, the opposite side of the world time zone, one 3 a.m. call, I looked at her, I said, "Edie, I can't get up. I'm staying in bed." This girl slapped me in the back of the head and she said, "You'll have plenty of time to sleep when you're dead. Get up." I swear that has got me out of bed more mornings than I can count. And off we went. And that happened to be the day we saw the big five, you know, all the major animals in the bush. I can't thank her enough for that. Edie had like ESP. She recognized people's potentials and she'd kick their butt to meet them, knowing that we're here for a reason. And she was a conduit to make sure as many people as she could affect would feel that reason and walk it. And she did it with respect. I hope I'm not offending anybody when I say Edie had her ideas and I had my ideas in the political realm, and they were not near each other at all. And she would do something I hadn't seen with other people, remain so respectful, protective. If she believed in your convictions, she never wanted to mess with that. She was here to learn. be as respectful as she could up to a point. And I just always felt free to be myself with her, and miss her very much. Because this group meant so much to her, I heard so much about Pat, for so many years, and had, the joy of meeting you along the way. And, of course, we all have the ability to have a lot of fun. And so I'm still holding you to that party we never got to have, and Edie will be with us. But in her name, I'd like to make another sizable donation as as a way of hearing her, wanting this to go on. Sorry, I miss her every single day. And I'm with you guys. You can hear her. You can definitely hear her when you call her. Anyway, thank you so much, Pat and Dom, for getting this off the road. And I have to add, Pam, you're one of the most receptive people. Just adore you too. Didn't get to know you as well, but Edie really adored all of you. And I could just keep going on, but now I'm just going to cry for a minute, let somebody else speak.
Thank you, Roxanne, and thank you for your continued support. It means a lot to us, and I know that Edie, you were one of her dearest friends, and I know she's with you, just as she's with all of us. And so thank you again for your support and for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Thank you for being who I would want to support. There's nothing more fun than that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It looks like that was lovely. And I also want to thank everybody here has been very supportive of us, especially Roxanne. And when I look around, you don't all know me. I'm the lady in the office, Priscilla. Some of you see me, some don't. But I do recognize all of your names, and I want to thank you for keeping us here. We have Trudy back. Trudy would like to continue where she left off. Trudy, do you know how to unmute yourself? Tap your phone and then look for the little microphone and tap it. Hang on, let's see if I can do that. I got it. Okay. He should ask you. There you go. Okay, there you are.
I've never done this through the phone before. I've always used computers, which 2 of them are crashed right now. So that, at any rate, I apologize for leaving you in the lurch. It's not as though I have all the same feelings. I'm sorry I missed the continuation of this discussion, but Edie and I worked wonderfully well together. And when she mentioned what was in need at ACV, it was just everything that I had ever dreamed of for myself, except this time it was without pay. So it was volunteering. And you know what? I love that because I feel as though every time there's a new group, it's like I become the mother of all of these people. And we have such a good time together. And you've brought me such a wonderful addition to my life that without Edie poking in her head at different stages of our lives, I wouldn't have been able to experience. And I'm really chomping at the bit for us to all get together again the way things were. And I hope that that will happen in the not too distant future, because I'm always collecting things that I think would be fun for the groups. And I just know and I know that Edie's there with me. I know that Edie, after each class, she'd come out and we'd share experiences, and we both admitted that this was where we belonged. This was what we were doing really good in our lives. And I just, in consolation, I think that Edie's in the place where she needs to be because she would not have been happy here except for ACV on Earth, because she would not have done well with being kept inside the way we've all been. And she would certainly not have been well with the outcome of the election. And I would not have been happy to be around that. So she wouldn't have been happy to be around me. So, but she was a wonderful lady, and her creativity was it was just so important to my life and to all the lives continuing who are walking through the doors. And thank you all for enjoying my company and spurring me on to do the good that I can do. Oh, my husband Dennis, who is hiding in on the other side of the room, would like to say something about Edie because we were all friends together. So just a second.
Hello all, this is Dennis. I'm Trudy's husband. Most of us have met, but I'd like to say one thing, which in some ways to me encapsulates Edie. I'm going to use a foul word, so forgive me. When Edie was elected president of Temple Isaiah, she asked me to please come on as vice president. I told her, I think it's a conflict because Trudy was executive director. And her answer to me was, fuck 'em, I don't care. So forgive me for saying that. But to me, in some ways, that in one way encapsulates Edie in the best of fashions. So I'm sorry for using that word, but I think you all understand, a very strong individual, and I loved her very, very much. So thank you all. I'll give you Trudy back.
Well, I can't follow that. But those of us who knew her would know that she would just straight from the shoulder exactly how she felt. And I love that. I love that about her. But that's all I have to say. She is in my thoughts all the time because there are a lot of things that I do that had to do with her. And so God bless us all, and God bless Edie, and keep her happy with whatever she's doing now.
Thanks, Trudy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dennis, for making us laugh and
Yeah.
seeing
He's
that
good at that.
special part of our friend.
Is Edie not proof that Tiny can be fierce?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Roxanne,
Oh.
her nickname was the little truck driver. That was her.
Oh, the little truck driver. I love that.
All right.
Yeah, can I just say one thing? And Priscilla, it's about you. Since you've come on to ACV, in my estimation, you have really brought you were so important to us all as far as I'm concerned. I hope I'm speaking for all of us, that you are just so fantastic, and you are really, it's as though you've always been there. And
Thank you.
I personally couldn't be doing what I've been doing without you too, truly. So
Well,
just
thank
wanted
you.
to say that.
Thank you. I love it here. And I wish I had gotten to know Edie. I came in right when she left. So maybe that was, and I'm also very short.
Me too.
I don't swear a lot except in my head. And Hannah just shared with everybody, thank you to Edie and all that she did for ACV. And so I'd like to see if there's somebody else who'd like to share there. And okay, I don't have names for Francis. Did you want to add something real quick?
I wanted to say something. I came to Alzheimer Coachella Valley the first week that Priscilla was there. And so I didn't know Edie except politically. So I met her at the restaurant, Aqua Bistro, I guess it was, the day that she introduced Lucy Arnaz. I think that's her daughter, Lucille Ball's daughter, Lucy Arnaz.
Yeah.
And Adam Schiff was a very special day, and she was a very special lady, just knowing her affiliations. Thank you. And happy to be with all of you. And I love you, Priscilla, for all the things that I bug you with.
Thanks, Frances. We love you too. And there's a gentleman on a galaxy. Don't know your name, but I think you're trying. Go ahead and unmute yourself. You know who I'm talking about. Wait, I'm going to unmute. Hang on. You're still muted. Hang on. Okay, you should get a prompt asking you to unmute. There you go.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was watching at first on the full screen television and I couldn't get anything working. So I've now pulled out my little portable. No, it was just so warming seeing all of you, and hello all of you for those that I know, and my love to everybody. And really wasn't prepared because I didn't know the format, but just sitting back and listening to all the conversation and comments and the feelings and the tears and so forth. I was with Edie 8 years, and we were sort of one step away from living together, but the fact is we didn't, but we were very close, and every weekend, except with a few exceptions, and 24 hours a day for 2, 3, 4 days in a row. She was the type of person that if a party was going on, she'd bring 2 of something. And I say, Edie, you're only expected to bring 1. She said, I want to make sure they have enough. And she never thought about what someone did for her. It was what she wanted to do, and that's what counted. And that passed through all of her being, and she was just giving. She didn't judge people. And the fact is that every time I talked to her, or so often, I said, what have you been doing? Oh, I'm involved with this now. Oh, I'm involved with that now. And it was just, I said, where do you have all the time to do this? Oh, I'll make time. And that's how she conducted her life. And it brings me to an incident when we were zip lining in Mexico on this. And this was only like 3 to 4 years ago. And we were on this long line. Now in zip lining, for everybody that hasn't done it, you go from one end and you build up enough speed to get to the other end. But sometimes you slow down enough where you don't make it. But anyway, this one time I had done and completed, and there Edie was behind me on the next thing, and she came within like 10 feet of me, or 15 feet. And all of a sudden, her speed stopped and she started slowly drifting back. And pretty soon she got back so far, it was like my pinky nail. I mean, I hardly could even see her in the distance. And she was helplessly on this line and couldn't get back. She didn't have the speed to go where she came from. She didn't have the ability to go forward, except taking the line in her hands and pulling it. And being shorter, it was hard to reach the line above her. So they finally sent somebody out, and he crawled all the way out there. And the next thing is she came back, and she was so nervous when they got her back. And she said, you know, the whole way I was looking at this guy's crotch, but I was so glad that he got me back here. I mean, and then she took a deep breath and she said, okay, where's the next line? I'm ready to go. And I think that's how she conducted her life. And may she rest in peace, and she's all in our hearts for each of us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's a great story. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, I'd like to share. So this is Diane Kelly, and I believe I met Edie when I first came to this community in 2003, somewhere between 2003, 2004. I started a end of life coalition because Bill Moyers, the TV broadcaster, says you communities come together and improve how you're dying in your community. And Edie was a part of the support of the coalition that we had for several years in Coachella Valley. So, and then she went on to actually, I've known her to support a lot of the family members, the caregivers for those people living with somebody with dementia. So yeah, significant, wonderful person in our community, and sorry that that she's gone. A very special lady. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Mhm.
Deirdre, did you want to add anything this morning?
Sure, why not? I would be, when I first started volunteering for ACV, I would be in the room with three people I referred to as the Holy Trinity, and that was Pat, Edie, and Dom. I spoke a different language because they had been together for so long doing different things in the community that they would complete each other's sentences, only use first names, use acronyms. And I'd be sitting there and I'm like, hold on, please. And Edie would be like, oh yes, you're right. We have to make sure. And it got to the point where I would say to them, if every time you do that, I'm going to make you put a quarter into a cup. So I kind of got rich because of Edie. The time I enjoyed the most with Edie was the days of Club Journey, because it was a set routine. We'd all get there, we'd be setting up, anxious for the families to arrive, and we'd be having coffee, and we'd be in the office and going back and forth, Mary Lou and Pam and Judy and I in the kitchen and the like. And when Edie came in, she put her stuff on the desk, knew everything that was there. She always had her tennis outfit ready to go for when 11:30 came along. Edie was in the bathroom changing, and out the door she went. But in the time that she was there, she did exactly what Pat was saying about just assessing, looking out into the room where all the caregivers and the loved ones were, and just shaking her head. And you could just see that it was so emotional to her, and just saying, this is it. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And I had the same experience with her in the early days of traveling the journey together, where she and Trudy would go in and talk to the loved ones and their family members and their caregivers. So it's especially nice to see Tony and Elaine and Phil, because they were there in the early days. And I also had the benefit of seeing how loving Edie was to everybody that came through those doors, because she knew what they were experiencing. And I learned so much just being there and kind of like absorbing things. And at the same time, having the pleasure of being on that wicked sense of humor and being able to say things and you didn't expect it. As somebody was said, what, Roxanne said about small and mighty. I had a mother that was built like that. Yeah, just like me. But anyhow, we used to call her SBS, small but spunky. And boy, was that Edie. And that was so much fun. So I miss her every single day. Very often there have been times where we do WWED. What would Edie do? What would she help us explain or handle the situation? So it's just been such a pleasure. I do miss her, even for the short period of time that I was in her company. Dom, Pat, and I had the privilege of being able to go over to her new home that she had waited to move into for so very long and have lunch with her. And she was just like, damn it, I'm getting back there soon. So guys don't worry about me, and it was just so, energizing to be with her. So the only problem that I have now is it's a big burden. Edie's the first person in my entire life that I met who we shared the same birthday. And I don't know how I would ever be able to live up to being as wonderful and honorable as Edie, but she sure set a good example. And so may she rest in peace. And we know she's looking down on us, because every time something happens, we know that she's there and she's guiding us and taking care of us. So we have our angel in heaven, and hope that she and Chuck are having a good time up there. And, you know, all of you are so very, very special to me. So thank you for participating in this too.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Can I
Thank
say
you,
a few
Priscilla.
words? Can I say a few words?
Absolutely, Elaine.
Okay, it'll be short and sweet. When I came in several years back, my situation was slightly different because my twin sister was married, so I had to deal with my brother-in-law. And Chuck also was my facilitator, and he was there for me, understanding my situation. And he suggested to travel the journey, which I took my twin sister. It was wonderful. Edie was very perceptive, and she was there for me. And also with my club journey, she was certainly there for me. And my brother-in-law did not really participate. So I wanted to be with my twin. And so I was very happy that I could share that with her. And she learned a lot from the activities of the ACV. And I appreciate that so much. And of course, I had difficulty with my brother-in-law because I couldn't really control that much. And my twin passed away November the 1st, and Edie passed away November the 5th. And fortunately, they're both at Forest Lawn. So when I visit my twin every week, I also visit Edie because I did attend her service. And I always place a stone for Edie when I go, and also with my twin. And I say a little something every time I go there to visit my twin, and I visit Edie. And she's always with me. And I just want to say that they were there for me. And I just want to express that. She understood my situation completely. And that was very helpful, and also Chuck also. So I'm very grateful for both of them. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful, Elaine. I didn't know that you went to visit them every week. That is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that it's close by. And so I do visit once a week. Yes. With a stone.
Well,
I apologize for that.
That's okay. I'll just mute you, Judy. It's okay.
Okay. Well, you can unmute me for 1 minute.
Yes.
Can you? Okay. I just have to say this because I know that Edie would be extremely unhappy that I didn't mention about Desert Outreach Synagogue, which most people who know her from the last few years, Edie and we were together putting a temple together that because there was dissatisfaction with what had gone on from years before, and we were part of the founding families that put to put the temple on the map. And she was so important to this group, another group that she shared with ACV. And I know she knows that the temple is doing great, and we still leave her seat open at the meetings. Nobody's allowed to sit in the seat that Edie sat in. Now, unfortunately, we haven't been sitting in those seats very often for the last 8 or 9 months. So she hasn't missed a heck of a lot, but I know she would feel that I was very remiss not to mention her importance in the establishment of the temple. That's all.
Thanks, Trudy. And I still have I have a folder right here for Edie, and her name tag is right over there, and they'll stay. I can't,
yeah,
with those. So
yeah.
Would anyone else like to share anything? Donald, did you want to share anything, or? Let's see.
No, I thought so highly of her. She was just a special person. And I'm sorry that I had to leave. Of all times, an agent came that was supposed to come at 12 o'clock and came early, and I didn't know. And so that's why I had to go. But I'm sorry. At least I got to be here for some of the time.
Well, we've had some nice memories shared. Pat, any final thoughts?
Just really like to thank everyone for being with us today. This is what Alzheimer's Coachella Valley is all about, is all these faces and people that you see and thoughts and memories. And hopefully our family will continue to grow, and want to thank all of you for your support during this very challenging time. And hopefully in a few months we can all be back together again, which I know we all miss that. And but for right now, Zoom is our communication channel. And I would like to agree with Trudy and really thank you, Priscilla, for, you are the glue that keeps us together. And as we've grown, there were things that we volunteers no longer could provide or control. And so I think, Edie and Chuck took care of us and sent you our way. So thank you.
I'm amazed at when I look at what you guys did before I got here, because I'm dedicated to be here and have things I do. To think that you and Dom and you were all doing this, in your own time, on your own, volunteer. And Deirdre, it's amazing. It's amazing what you guys did. I always say that to them. I don't know how you did this before.
Neither do we.
But you did. But you did. And now you
hit the ground running.
You can breathe a little.
And we're glad that we're not doing it by ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well,
so I would just like to, if there's anyone else that, Dom, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I do. I think that, in the short period of time that ACB has been together, it's so sad that we lost two people that meant so much to the organization. When you stop and think about the contribution that Edie and Chuck made from the very beginning, Pat and I and Edie say we're the founders, but, Pam and, Chuck, these people were here from the very beginning. When we first started talking about what the programs would be, I mean, Pam and Chuck sat there right with us, and I'm sure there's more people that did. But my point is, I think ACV is here to stay. I think that what we do bring joy to our community. And I look at people like Chuck and Edie, and I thank God that they were here to help us put this together, because they shaped the way Alzheimer's Coachella Valley would be in the future. And it's up to Pat and I and the rest of us on the board to ensure that that vision and that mission stays on track. And Pat and I know several of our board members have pledged our very existence to make sure that that happens. So this is by no means something that is, a small undertaking or something that we take lightly. We get that sense of reward, like Deirdre and Pat were talking about, when Edie would look out on the group of people and say, that she knew what her reason for being on the planet was. We get that sense of reward because we care about the community. It comes from the heart. And ACV, the service that we provide comes from the heart. If you're an employee, if you're a volunteer, it doesn't matter. We are here because we care about the community. And I thank Edie, I thank Chuck, I thank all of our board for being those kind of people. So yeah, Edie's gone, but ACV is what it is because of people like Chuck and Edie. So thank you all so very much for being a part of this. And no, Edie's memory will never die. It will always be with us. So thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll leave this open if any of you want to chat and visit. You know, it's a nice time to connect. You can unmute yourselves if you like. And when you're ready to leave the meeting, you can just move your mouse to the lower right-hand corner of your window and click on leave, or you can tap your phone and select leave meeting. But like I said, if you'd like, I'll leave it open for a while if anyone would like to say hello to those they haven't seen in so long.
Thank you for everything you do. Gosh.